Hey guys, welcome to another bat rep. This one will be between Haqqislam and NCA, the Pan-Oceania sectorial, and playing this mission called Unmasking for the first time. This is a mission that came out a bit more recently, and having read through it, I actually quite like it. I think you can download it on their website, so go check it out if you haven't already. The idea of this mission is that instead of having classifieds, you've got three of your HVTs, and not one, but three, deployed in the normal way. And you and your opponent have to press the buttons on the consoles, and that allows you to turn one of the enemy HVTs into an attackable target, a designated target which can be killed. They're each worth a point each, except for the real one, so you've got to discover the real one in the same way that you're sort of discovering hollow echoes in a way. Well, not exactly like that, but you guys get the idea. So if you do manage to use your data tracker to kill the main designated target, then you get a whole bunch of points. Besides that, though, the game can simply be won by activating more consoles in the normal way that you would in a game of Seize the Antennas or something like that, and keeping your designated target and data tracker alive, of course. So, gonna play a rare game with Haqqislam for this one. I don't play Haqqislam very often. I enjoy playing the other factions a bit more. In fact, I may be selling these models off to a friend of mine who's starting infiNity just to give him a model collection to go with. And I decided with a mission like this, going first isn't actually that bad because there is a lot that you can do and achieve in the mission to get the objectives which can't be reverted back and swapped back to your opponent. In terms of the consoles, yes, your opponent can just recapture them at the end of the game, but if during the course of the game you've killed the enemy designated target with your data tracker, then you're going to come out on top. So going first, if that shifts the momentum, great. Also, with playing Haqqislam, when you're playing an aggressive Haqqislam list, you should go first, just so you can make usage of the feeder, which I've taken, and the two Daylami inferior infiltrators, which I've done as well. And even the Come Rider bike is a guy that wants to go first more often than not. The thinking here is that with first turn, you may be able to press the button on the console by moving up with a Farzan or a Hunzakut or an Al-Hawa, and then because you've got a Fide and Daylami hopefully in past the exclusion zone near to their models, you might be able to actually do some work on the first turn with that. So that's the general idea of this list, although it is pretty light on the old SWCs, unfortunately. So we'll get into the game. Let's just have a look at the table and see how we're positioned for that. So this is looking side on. I'll put an H for Haqqislam over here. In fact, if I get my camera out of the way, that'll be a bit easier. And the deployment zone you can sort of see along here. That's roughly where the deployment zone is for Haqqislam. And for NCA, it's roughly along here. Now, there are consoles in the middle here and over here. So you have to press the buttons on those first, and then there's an exclusion zone somewhere along here where the HVTs are going to be. So it's just a matter of pressing the buttons and going over to them and killing them. But the one thing you have to sort of balance in a mission like this is the trade-off between, do you put all of your resources into completing the objective, leaving a lot of enemy troops alive, or do you try and crush the enemy but leave yourself a little bit short-changed when it comes to spending orders on the actual objective side of the mission? That's one thing that typically makes a really good type of infiNity ITS mission. So I'm glad that there's a bit of trade-off and interplay there. I've won the role for Lieutenant, opted to go first, as we talked about. So let's just have a little bit of a browse through what's deployed. This is my left-hand corner on my left-hand flank. So I've got this guy's a Krakot Renegade with Red Fury who's rolled up Super Jump. You can see some Ghazi Moti with chain rifles around the sides here. This is a Flash Pulse Spot and the Kum Rider with Light Shotgun. Here's one of my HVTs, so it's not the real one. The real one's the Yucheng one in the middle there. Just a quick thought about the bikes. Rather than run a chain rifle, because I've already got heaps of deployment zone defense, the light shotgun's better on the offense when you're going out to attack. Looking through the center, we'll shift this over here. So there's the bike and there's the Ghazi. This model here is an Al-Hawa. It's infiltrating, but obviously not into the exclusion zone. This is a sensor bot here. We've got the Janbazan with HMG, a doctor nearby to heal him if he dies. There's a Farzan Fort Observer next to him there. And on my right-hand side, we're having a look and seeing that there's a Tuareg sniper up on top of the building, prone there. This is a Daylami which failed to pass his infiltration check. Barid, killer hacker, of course. The Lieutenant Nafatun back here, and a friendly decoy Nafatun there, who's going to be the data tracker for this one. Just because in my final turn, if I have managed to get a bit of momentum with the attrition side of things, there's a small chance you'll be able to walk out there and just kill the designated target in the last turn. And another Ghazi there. Alright, note that I think there's a third HVT over the side of the corner, over that side. So my opponent, this is his left-hand side, so we've got a sensor bot here, flash pulse bot there. You can see one of my Daylami has actually deployed quite offensively, just because I'm expecting him to put his HVTs around this area here, and if he puts them around here, I should be able to shoot at them. There's a auxiliary link team there as well. On his other side, you can see that he's got more bots, link teams, CSUs, and of course the Squallow. Now, there was something that happened here in deployment which I want to talk about. Before I describe what actually happened, I just want to make some really important points. What I'm about to describe didn't really affect the course of the game very much. It wasn't an intentional mistake by my opponent or any sort of wrongdoing here. It's just something that happened which is a bit unfortunate, which I'd like to describe because we can learn from it, and that's why I want to talk about it. What happened is that he's put his Squallow 12 inches up next to this wall here to have a look around to sort of defend an ARO time. I've placed my FIDE right next to the Squallow with barely any gap between him and the Squallow. And then his reserve model, which is a Hexa killer hacker, has come down to block me from walking into close combat, which is a good thing to do. What happened though is that initially I put the FIDE like right next to the Squallow so that he couldn't be blocked, and then I voluntarily checked the deployment zone and just said, hey, just for good housekeeping, can you move the Squallow back a bit, because he's actually like 12.75 inches out of the deployment zone. So obviously the Squallow moved back. We adjusted the positions a little bit, and they said, cool, all that's fine then. I was just trying to make sure that everything's in the right spot. Then the Hexa comes down, and there's enough room for the Hexa to actually go in between the FIDE and the Squallow. Note that if he walks around the other side, he gets shot. So it would have been better if the FIDE was actually here. Relatively speaking, I mean, I think I deployed him back here, and the Squallow was around here, but the Squallow ended up getting pushed back. Now that's, again, just want to state for emphasis and repetition here and reiterate that this is not some sort of wrongdoing by my opponent. This is effectively a mistake where if I could take this back and go back to that situation, I simply would have explained that he needs to reposition the Squallow first, then put down my reserve model, or stated my intention, at least, by putting the FIDE there, that saying it's my intention to be 0.0001% of an inch away. Anyway, it is what it is. Just have to also talk about the fact that even if the FIDE was in a position to walk straight into close combat, having the Hexa there helps to solve the problem anyway, because even if the combi rifle doesn't actually get its free shot at the FIDE as he's going in, and even if the FIDE doesn't actually shoot him, the Hexa can just fire into close combat, and although that won't do much damage to the tank, to the tag, eventually he'll probably get a hit on the FIDE, and it's going to take a lot of turns to chunk down the tag with the FIDE's AP close combat weapon. So you can sort of see the end result here. Behind the scenes, there are a whole lot of Fusiliers and link teams and NCUs, CSUs, I should say, which have both rolled up a metachemistry with NWI, which is a fantastic result for getting that twice in a row there. Everybody else just hanging around. You got your HMG missile launcher, hacker, Vault Observer, guys like that, all prone behind the obstacles. There's a central HVT through here, and another one onto my right-hand flank. So what happens is we do a whole lot of impetuous moving out. Initially, Gazimatu are throwing smoke just to cover the movement of the bike so it doesn't get hit by the Squallow straight away. And that is successful, just drives up on into the cloud. Elsewhere, you can see that I've got... Okay, so I better describe this positionally speaking. This is the objective on my right-hand flank. I've got a a Farzan moving down from the building and then across over here to the objective. This model is actually my Daylami further up the field. So if you can imagine this arrow pointing from my deployment zone to my opponent's deployment zone, the photo's on a bit of an oblique angle. After that, Farzan moves up to the objective, and a little bit of bad luck strikes here. He needs 14 or less to secure it, fails the first roll and the second roll, and only picks it up on the third roll. So that's 2 orders wasted, which is a bit unfortunate. I mean, these things happen sometimes, but you just got to sort of recognize where you were unlucky. Because I have successfully captured the console now, I get to pick one of his HVTs. Now, the middle HVT next to my Daylami surely isn't going to be the real one, because he's not going to choose the real one if it's going to die straight away. But it's still worth a point, and the Daylami is going to be activating anyway, and it's probably going to die as soon as he activates. So just to pick up the free point, moves around next to the designated, well, the special HVT here, and lobs off shotgun shots at both the sensor bot and the designated guy, and kills the HVT but doesn't kill the bot. And when he activates again to just have a face-to-face shootout with a shotgun against the bot, does end up dying. So a little bit unlucky there to not kill this thing either. I did want to kill it because with the bike now moving across the battlefield, it's going to take some shots. So there's going to be a flash pulse coming down the angle here, and as he moves over here, possibly another flash pulse from this guy through here. But the bike is going to be hitting smoke grenades on like 15s or 16s, and he's got dogged anyway. So he's going to start planting the smoke grenades as he's just rolling across with his rather quick speed. My opponent choosing not to react with the Hexa in the corner, just because if he does that, then the FIDE will be able to attack straight away. So bike lobbing the smoke grenade, moving through. Moving again, lobbing the smoke grenade. Hexa still doing nothing. So this does put me in a position where I've got a couple of orders left, and I would have liked for it to have been 3 or 4 orders, but unfortunately the Farzan was not successful with his button. So the bike comes screaming in. Notice that there's a bit of a line through here, and the base of the bike is just further past this line, so that he's going to be able to angle his light shotgun through the tag and the CSUs behind it. Now, as he does this, this effectively forces the Hexa to actually help defend, otherwise the bike's just going to be able to keep on going. He also does need to get rid of the bike, because one more short skill move is going to be able to move me right around and potentially attack the tag. Actually, no, that wouldn't have been possible, because the edge of the table is basically where the bottom of the photo is, so we don't have to worry too much about that. In a nearby coordinated order, I think the FIDE has also moved up the stairs to make room for him. So the bike fires the slight shotgun, needing, I think, 17s to hit, and the tag shooting back with a heavy pistol needing, I think, 18s to hit with 1 dice, and everybody else dodging. And unfortunately, the bike gets absolutely 0 damage from this. Not even a single scratch on anyone, which was quite unlucky, I feel. He wasn't expecting to get much on the tag, but the plan was to actually inflict a bit of damage on the guys behind him. So, take away this. So with the Hexa now being revealed and the bike being destroyed by this shootout, we can finally move the FIDE in. And what the FIDE is going to be doing is ending the short skill in close combat with the Hexa. And what I can do here is split the burst, so fire 1 shot from the burst directly at the tag with surprise shot. So that's going to be a 17 to hit on 1 dice versus 15 to hit on 1 dice against the tag. And any hit there is going to also spread through the guys in the back line. Then another surprise attack shot like shotgun directed at the Hexa to be a face-to-face roll against him. He's going to need, I think, a 12 on 1 dice, whereas the FIDE is going to need 11 on 1 dice. So it's pretty even, but if I do get a hit there, that's also going to be face-to-face roll against everyone behind it. So hoping for a little bit of action here, but the FIDE absolutely whiffed her rolls here, didn't even get a single scratch at anybody, and was destroyed for her efforts. So was expecting a bit more out of that. Statistically, it was 50-50 for me to do a bit of damage, I think, with the bike, maybe a little bit more, and also 50-50 to get a bit of damage done with the FIDE. It was definitely more than 50-50 to get damage done on the back lines there, but all I really took out was the helper bot, so unfortunately this didn't really work out. Elsewhere, you can sort of see a bit of an overview. I've got this Tuareg sniper ready to cover this long line through here and a long line through here, but everybody else is just hanging out really because there's not too much more that can get done. So NCA turn 1, Hexa now moving out along the side. you can also see that he's going to be moving out with, this is a coordinated order, moving out with, so there's the Hexa, there's the 2 Flash Pulse bots, and the Pathfinder, all in the same group apparently. This is group 2 actually, and they're all moving out as a coordinated order. So the Tuareg starts shooting at them straight away, and I feel like this is not really the right thing to do at this point in the game. There's no point just moving out in the coordinated order and just getting shot. There are things you can do to actually attack the Tuareg. You can use your link team or the tag to start doing this. Yes, there's an argument to be made that you want to bait him out of bait him out of Marcus State, but he's also moving into line of sight of this Daylami, who failed his check and is deployed on the side of the table with a Panzerfaust. So Daylami blows up the first Flash Pulse bot, and the Tuareg snipes the other one. So a couple of kills already. Moving on though, Hexa is able to move across through the line here towards the objective, and goes through and actually successfully manages to cap the console, which is going to reveal one of my HVTs. He can now move closer through. Now there's a assault hacker right here, but of course I don't really want to spring the assault hacker against a killer hacker. So now the tag, opting to fire a extremely long-range speculative shot at the Tuareg, ends up missing because he's beyond 32 inches with the shot, needs something like 6 to hit. So with that in mind, decides he's going to move a bit closer, and instead of moving a bit closer to Specfire, he's going to move around about here and just move past this wall and shoot at the Tuareg that way. So that's where he's planning on going, just moves through here. He's able to just pop around the corner and go for a bit of a shootout. Now, seeing that he's only got a single order left in Group 2 for the killer hacker, and seeing that the tag may take a little bit of time to kill a Tuareg if the Tuareg's lucky with its shooting, I decided to respond with a shot arrow from the Tuareg and revealing the assault hacker at this point. What I'm doing is I'm hoping that in the next order, when he activates the Hexa to actually attack me, I'll be able to Carbonite, he'll have something like a Red Rum, and with the high willpower of the Alhawa, there's a small chance I'll either survive or at least freeze the guy or pass a couple of BTS checks. There's a possibility of that, and if that does come to pass, then I've effectively locked down the tag. So what happens is that the tag does get possessed by the Alhawa and does not manage to actually hit the Tuareg thanks to the TO camo and the Tuareg rolling well with his dice. So the tag is possessed. So he does end up activating the Hexa, but unfortunately for me, the Hexa does manage to kill the Alhawa with a Red Rum, so unfortunately not managing to get much luck there, although it was advantage to the Hexa. Because there's a sensor bot here which is alive, he's able to use his hacker from his link team to hit the tag with an exorcism, which frees it up, and with the few orders remaining, he's able to move around over here after shooting the Tuareg, although it takes a couple more orders for him to kill the Tuareg, thanks to Tuareg rolling pretty well. Finally, he's able to move the CSUs around the side here, just getting a bit closer to where his objective is, so they're just rolling on out towards this little marker here. Okay, so Haqqislam turn 2, I've got a irregular with the guy moving out with the smoke, lobs out with the smoke grenade, but doesn't manage to get it down. The tag misses and the sensor bot fails to actually hurt this guy, so it's a bit of a standoff really. Elsewhere, I'm using one of my Ghazi Matiwas to throw a smoke here, just to try and block off the guys moving through, because there's a tag and like some CSUs covering this, so I'm having to throw down a lot of smoke first, and then moving in with the Ghazis. What they're going to be trying to do is go after this Hexa over here. Elsewhere, we're doing a long-range shot with this Ghazi. The first attempt doesn't actually work, but we're able to spend a regular order from Group 2, and he moves a bit closer and just throws it successfully down to here. This allows our Jambazan HMG to stand up, and puts him in a situation where he can easily shoot the sensor bot and kill it. And then, with about 6 or 7 orders remaining, just fire direct shot after direct shot at the tag through smoke. So the tag starts with skill 15, +- for cover and range, -6 for smoke, is hitting on a 9 with a single dice, whereas the Jambazan hitting on 12s with 4 dice. So the first volley of shots, I think, gets a single wound done. And the second volley of shots, I whiff the rolls and just die instantly from the explosive round. So again, game not going too well in terms of dice rolls. This was very unlucky. I think in the long run, if you keep shooting and you keep shooting after a long time with the Jambazan, the tag will get you eventually. but there's a reasonably solid chance that the Jambazam will actually kill the tag just by doing this. For more on this kind of interaction, I'd love you guys to check out a game, or actually a video I did about binomial probability, where there was a Cien warrior firing at the same tag, actually. No, was it the same tag? A similar tag. It was a tag. Firing at the tag who was in suppression fire. This is a bit different because I'm only up against one dice. So the stats are a bit different on this one. We can go to a dice calculator to work it out, but I won't for now. Rest assured, though, that this is a little bit unlucky, but it's not completely out of the question that the tag will beat this guy after a lot of shooting. Okay, so not too much else that can get done with the turn. There's a Daylami just repositioning here just to cover the central objective a little bit more with his remaining Panzerfaust round. And we've now got a Krakot Renegade moving out through here. He's able to fire his Red Fury one shot against the Hexa, one shot against the CSU, and a couple of shots against the tag, just in the hopes that he can get a little bit lucky here. Bare minimum, just trading the Krakot for the CSU slows my opponent down a little bit. If he does take out the Hexa, then that's a massive victory there. Note that the CSUs are what do you call these guys, specialists, and if he does put any damage onto the tag, that will really help for later as well. Unfortunately, the Krakot only managed to get the CSU, so no spectacular dice rolling there either. I'm then able to move in with my Ghazi, and he's hoping to possibly put down a chain rifle or pistol shots into the Hexa or the CSU, but no damage caused there either, unfortunately. Lastly, with the smoke grenade in the way here, the Bereed is able to move over to fire his pitcher to land a little repeater there at the doorstep, and then is able to move into cover and potentially use the repeater to attack the Hexa on the other side of the building with a lightning. But again, dice just not really going very well for me at all. And unfortunately, the Hexa wins this, even though it's reactive turn. So lightning -6 to him, red rum -3 to me, and the Hexa unfortunately does it. So game turning into a bit of a disaster here with none of the important face-to-face rolls going my way, sadly. Okay, so the tag in his turn activates, goes after the guy with the Panzerfaust. A little bit risky. I'm hitting on a 14. He's hitting on, I think, 18s. So if he rolls really badly and the Panzerfaust hits, that could be the end of the tag. But statistically, he's likely to kill him, and he does. Tag now moving through. He's able to he's basically going after the Bereed and the Ghazi Mutir without sort of coming into chain rifle or Emirat range. He's also able to shoot across the battlefield at this HVT, which was formally revealed. Doesn't get into the line of sight of the Farzan, though. Then, moving out with the Auxilia over here. The Farzan does reveal, just for the sake of firing his combi rifle at this spot in the distance and wiping him out, but it's going to allow the Auxilia to come through in total cover to hit the objective here. So that's what he does. He moves further on and eventually gets to the objective, and after a couple of attempts at it, does manage to actually pick this objective up and spot out another one of the HVTs. The Hexa now moves around to the central objective. He's a hacker, so he gets a +3 bonus for pressing the buttons, but rolls really terribly and doesn't manage to pick up the central objective. So the tag now moves back just to get a little bit of cover here in case of the Haqqislam final turn going well. Not that there's too much left to do. So I saw a little bit of opportunity, decided to go for it. With the tag and the Hexa repositioned, the Ghazi is now going to reposition herself just to move through here, because there's a spot at this point here, whereas if we move through, I might be able to get an Emirat off. So moving through, there's a couple of little shootouts here against the CSU, but unfortunately for him, the Ghazi survives with Dogged and gets the spot here. Now, another mistake I think from Pano here is that the tag decides to shoot at the Ghazi, even though it's an Emirat range. The Hexa has to do a change-facing dodge. The reason shooting back is a mistake is because he gets a free shot with the CSU, and I believe there's a missile launcher shot here as well. So with the tag shooting back, he takes an Emirat hit and gets isolated and immobilized. So the better choice in this situation is definitely to dodge, especially as I don't really have any more orders I can spend on this Ghazi. The Farzan moves around the side of the console here and destroys the auxiliary with his light shotgun, and then presses the button on the console with his whip check. Finally moves around here with his rifle to fire at the what do you call that guy? The Hexer. Now, I'm at a disadvantage because he's got TO camo and I've only got regular camo, but I do have 3 dice against his 1 dice. Nevertheless, another bad face-to-face roll, and the Hexer is not destroyed by the Farzan, so that further sort of cements the bad situation here with us each having a single console. Now he's going to be able to spend his irregular order to press the button one final time. So this is the end result of the battlefield here. I've got a repeater in place, but no hackers left. He's got his tag there. I've only got like 3 or 4 models left at all. So he's able to move out with his HMG from the Link team and destroy the flash pulse spot that I've put in the distance. This guy is destroyed just by shooting through there. And then he's got his Hexer over at the objective here. A single isolated irregular order is enough to press the button. And after the button is pressed, that's basically the game. He is able to go after another one of my HVTs and kill that. But at this point, I've got nothing left. So game finishes with a win for NCA. So let's just talk about what happened throughout this game and cover it off. In terms of the luck side of things, I was pretty unlucky this game. There were some things that went my way, some things that didn't go my way. My opponent had some unlucky rolls, he had some lucky rolls. I think the situation with the bike and the FIDE, it wasn't really stacked to my advantage. It's just that I was in a good position here, but nothing really came of it because I couldn't really scratch him with the dice at all. There was an opportunity to have killed the Hexer at that point, which would have made the game a lot easier. It would have allowed me to hack his tag a lot more reliably, but didn't kill the Hexer, unfortunately. There was an opportunity to get into combat with the tag, but the biker didn't come through with that one, so that didn't work there either. He was a little bit unlucky shooting at the Touareg, but at the end of the day, it only really cost him 2 or 3 extra orders. He did kill him in the end anyway, so that, while it wasn't really lucky for him, it was 11 versus 9s in my favor, but he had the more dice. He did get unlucky there, but that wasn't really an important stage of the game. The Jambazan in the smoke cloud, that was very unlucky for me, but I don't know if the word very is appropriate there. It was just unlucky. I think that the chances of me killing the tag might have been, in the long run, doing 2 wounds to it, might have been just over 50%, maybe closer to 60% in the long run doing that. But, you expect you're taking a risk when you're shooting a tag in cover like that with such good ballistic skill. Farzan did pretty badly, failing a lot of whip checks, failing an important combi rifle shot or shotgun rifle shot against the Hexer, so that didn't go very well. Krakot didn't achieve anything either, so generally a bit of a tough game. In terms of what I would have done differently, I can't really think of a lot. Haqqislam's a pretty good faction, but again, the Dale Army didn't do much damage either. I think if you're going to play a very, very aggressive list, perhaps Tariq's a better choice. I don't have Tariq in my miniature collection. I didn't really want to proxy him. I normally play with stuff like the Rajik instead of the bike or the impersonator in a lot of cases. The Rajik might have been okay. I play a lot of Touareg Hacker, but with the exclusion zone, I don't really think he was worth it this time around. So yeah, a bit of a tougher one. I was thinking about putting the Lasik in there, but I think the Lasik probably would have been killed by the tag or the HMG Fusilia. Anyway, this will probably be my last game of Haqqislam because I'm giving them to a friend of mine next month. Big tournament coming up partway through April, so look out for that one. Should be a good one. I haven't decided which faction I'm going to be taking for that. Also, this weekend, I think I'll be putting up some information about Uprising, so look out for that. There's going to be some video breakdown. For now, I hope you guys have a good day. See you next time.